Okay, good afternoon to all. Let us all please stand for a word of prayer. Father, we humble ourselves before you today. We thank you for your covering and protection, even as we battle this pandemic, COVID-19. Lord, pray for your guidance during this meeting as we see about the safety of the people of Dominica. We pray that fruitful information will flow from this gathering today. Lord, pray for your continued protection throughout the hurricane season. We give you thanks for your many mercies, O Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Senior Minister and Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Reginald Ostry, Minister for National Wellness and New Health Investment, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador Steve Farrell, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Public Works and Digital Economy, Chairpersons of the NEPO subcommittees, ladies and gentlemen, the media, good afternoon. The ODM, at every opportunity afforded, reminds the public that hydrometeorological events are not the only hazard that the island faces. The global impact of COVID-19 has certainly proven this to be a fact and has added some new dimensions. Of note, this hurricane season is projected to be a busy one. For the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, Dominica, the Caribbean region as a whole, must bear in mind that it is not business as usual. Many in the disaster management arena recognize that usual practices of ordering evacuation, provision of emergency shelters, expectation of external food supplies, and other assistance and support from international aid workers may not be readily available or be practical without some tweaking to fit the new operational environment, or as some would say, the new normal in light of COVID-19. Disaster management, even without COVID-19, is a complex area with several moving parts at any given time. We must all recognize that these are challenging times that requires all sectors and the public as a whole to work together to reduce impact from tropical cyclones this year, should the island be affected. The new normal dictates that all must now make provision for COVID-19 in their operation. As such, this was a major consideration for all NEPO subcommittees, and one can certainly see how critical this would be, particularly for the Emergency Shelter Subcommittee. The plans that have already been implemented by NEPO through the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment to manage COVID-19 have set a strong foundation upon which we can build the now modified preparedness and response activities for the 2020 hurricane season. At this juncture, let me use this opportunity to extend appreciation to our frontline workers and first responders, health services, fire and ambulance services, and the Dominica Police Force and other support personnel for the tireless work that they have been doing in the COVID-19 response. The ODM is making strides bolstering communication capacity, which, as you all know, is critical in providing situational awareness and effective management during emergency. New shelter projects will be realized in the near future, enhancing shelter capacity. In closing, let me remind you all to continue to adhere to the instructions and guidance of the health authority. The task ahead of us may be great, but we have proven that we are a resilient people and want to continue to work together. We will get through these challenges and other challenging times. Again, welcome to all. At this time, I would like to call the Honorable Minister for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, to give some opening remarks. Thank you.
Prime Minister, Prime Minister on the bus. Cabinet, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Affairs, other permanent secretaries, Commissioner of Police, Fire, Chairperson, not a hurricane season is upon us, and from all indications, expect to be very active on. As we are all aware, the impact of COVID-19 has placed additional requirements and challenges on our preparedness response activity. We have to learn how to put responsibilities while adapting to the changes brought on us by major crisis. However, leadership and people of this wonderful country are not daunted by these new developments. We have shown that we are capable of rising to the challenges as we've seen thus far in our response to COVID-19, and even more so, the great strides we have made since Hurricane Maria 2017. Experience Hurricane Maria should be enough for us to know what can happen should the island be seriously affected, and that all should be prepared in every respect. As Minister responsibility for national security and home affairs, including disaster management and Met Service, I made it my duty to ensure that relevant stakeholders have been actively engaged in planning and preparing the hurricane season. The subcommittees of NEPO have been meeting and ensuring necessary provisions being made. Recognize that provision of emergency shelters during the season, one that required much thought and necessary arrangement, must be put in place, as we all should comply with the requirements for physical distance, as instructed by the Ministry of Health. I have been advised that the need for shelters in Dominica slowly continues to decrease. Government has recognized the importance of sheltering for emergency and disaster events and will continue to invest heavily in the provision for above-standard dwelling homes and properly built shelters nationally. Dominica Police Force, the fire and ambulance services, and other frontline workers have been given the full support to the Ministry of Health priority in the fight against COVID-19. The safety and security and well-being of all is critical. Rest assured that the maintenance of law and order at any given time is paramount, more so during emergency and disaster situations. All efforts will continue to be made by all means in spite of the new working environment brought about COVID-19. Indeed, the presence of COVID-19 across the region and globally is a clear indication that business as usual is not an option. Before, countries could expect external assistance, but we must accept that this may not be the case going forward. In this regard, the work done by the Ministry of Agriculture in promoting food security must not go unnoticed. This year's prediction is for an active above average hurricane season. Meanwhile, I am reminded that in spite of seasonal prediction, it only takes one system to cause significant damage to our island people. With this in mind, the government has been doing everything possible to ensure that this country is ready and that all of us must play our part. I therefore call on all able persons to build the spirit of voluntary work, help clean the drains in our community, or at least the one at your gate yard. Help your elderly, your neighbors, cut the trees over his or her house. Volunteer to assist in the shelter, and at the same time, comply with the instruction by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, new investment. The good Lord protect all of us and continue to protect beautiful country, Dominic. Thank
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And at this time, I'd like to call on the Chairman of NEPO, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, to give some remarks.
Thank you very much. Let me recognize our Senior Minister, Honorable Reginald Ostry, Honorable Ribbon Blackmore, Honorable Dr. David McIntyre, my other cabinet colleagues, Secretary to the Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Chief of Police, Chief Fire Officer, ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, and residents. Good afternoon. In the midst of the extreme socio-economic challenges posed by the global pandemic COVID-19, it may feel overwhelming to have to confront the potential impact of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. But we as a country must confront it. This is truly a test of our resilience as a nation. But I'm certain that the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, under the watchful eye of the Almighty, will emerge stronger and even more prosperous. 2 weeks prior to the official June 1 start of the Atlantic hurricane season, Tropical Storm Ap became the first named storm there. Just last we were told to prepare for an active season in 2020, reminding us vividly of 3 years ago, 2017. We must therefore be vigilant and update our emergency management plans and procedures, particularly considering limitations imposed on our normal operating environment as a result of COVID-19 restrictions. The Shelter Committee has had to factor into its planning the recommended physical distancing protocol. In some instances, this has resulted in the need for additional shelters to be identified. We also have to ensure that all shelters are equipped with adequate cleaning and sanitizing supplies and have in place proper cleaning procedures. It is important that those who will need to access these shelters take adequate precautions for their own safety. Therefore, individuals are advised to have their own supply of masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer to supplement what will be available at the shelter. Our preparation is being built on our experiences of the factoring in the changes required in the COVID-19 era in which we now live. Our hurricane response plans must now include standard operating procedures for responding in an epidemic or pandemic context. It is imperative that the chairs of the various subcommittees develop acute approaches to undertaking activities so that the country's preparedness and response plan are realistic and sound. We must prepare as if we'll be hit, while we pray that God will spare our country and indeed our region from being devastated by these storms. The issue of food security must also be high on the agenda. While I am assured by the private sector that they will have enough food supplies island during the period, I urge our citizens and residents to continue to follow best practice and ensure that they have on hand all time dry goods, medication, and water in the event that we are visited by a storm. The government is making significant investments in agriculture that will allow farmers and non-farmers alike to plant crops so that their families can have fresh food to eat. We should therefore be strategic in what we plant. And of course, we were able to identify those crops which survived Hurricane Maria, especially root crops. We must plan and be prepared to help ourselves with a mindset of resiliency and self-sufficiency, as we acknowledge that external donor countries and agencies are already overwhelmed given the ongoing response to COVID-19 pandemic. Where challenges exist, as it relates to human resources, we should each become our brother's keeper and volunteer, lend a helping hand in our respective communities. We should all play our part to keep each other safe. Our first responders, particularly our police officers, fire officers, and health professionals, have been on the battlefield over the last few months, fighting this invisible enemy. I want to place on record my deepest appreciation for the tremendous work done by the police with regard to maintaining security and policing the COVID-19 restrictions on our beautiful island. I do not want to preempt the report of the Chief of Police on telecommunications, but from following the minutes of his telecommunication subcommittee meetings, I can conclude that there has been improvement as it relates to the communication network on island. However, we should not be complacent. We must continue to explore all available avenues to have all bases covered. The management of vegetation and cleaning of drains will no doubt contribute significantly to our preparedness efforts and mitigate against flooding in certain areas. I want to say to the communities and the residents in the respective communities that it is our duty to play our part in ensuring that all of the hazards in our communities can be eliminated. The cutting of overhangs, the clearing of drains, the unblocking of culverts, all of these things will help save lives and save properties. And while the government will plan at a national level, it is imperative that at the community level, we play our part. Because without the community action, the national planning could certainly end up being naught. And so, as we have done in the past, we will coordinate with operators to ensure that heavy equipment will be pre-positioned to allow for almost real-time clearing of road networks to ensure that any interruption to access is short-lived. Identification of our most vulnerable and at-risk residents will continue, and prioritization by community is currently being undertaken. This will no doubt aid in the logistics of providing and deploying assets and resources. I would like to encourage all of you to increase your vigilance at the household level by doing all you can to reduce impact on yourselves and your families. Ensure that your insurance payments are up to date and that you are not underinsured, as we were all told after Hurricane Maria. Please engage your insurance broker, insurance company, and go through your insurance policy very, very carefully, because that posed a serious challenge to many property owners in this country. Reinforce doors and windows or erect temporary shutters. Park an emergency bag in the event evacuation becomes necessary. And stay tuned to official sources of information throughout this hurricane season. Again, we don't have to wait for when there is an approaching storm or hurricane to put those preparedness matters in place. We need to start now if we have not started. The world is in a very difficult situation. And therefore, it calls on us to do everything in our power to properly and absolutely prepare ourselves at the family level, at the community level, and at the national level for this hurricane season. We will all pray that none of the storms impact us. But we must not be foolish. We have to prepare. The private sector and civil society are encouraged to continue to partner with government. I have always said that while government will do what it has to do, it is incumbent on everyone to play his or her part in the development of Dominica, and in this case, with preparations for the hurricane season. I am therefore encouraging citizens to hold on to faith during these uncertain times. And Ephesians chapter 2 verse 8 reminds us, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is a gift of God." I will also say that we must not be like the foolish virgins. And we do not have to go back in ancient history to be reminded of how dangerous these storms can be. We have, and they don't have to be hurricanes, we have Tropical Storm Erica, which claimed the lives of many of our citizens. And of course, we have Maria, which brought every one of us in this country to our knees. So I pray to God that He continues to look over us, protect us, and keep us safe during this hurricane season. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. At this time, we call upon Mr. Marshall Alexander from the Met Service to do a presentation.
Good afternoon to all. In the interest of time, I wish to adopt protocol already established and jump right into my presentation on the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, predictions, and other related information. As we all know, the hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th every year, But systems can form outside of the season, as mentioned earlier by the Prime Minister, because last year we had a storm being formed on the 20th of May, and this year we had Arthur being formed on the 16th of May. So the peak months we have to look out for is August to October, and maximum activity month is around early to mid-September. Now looking at the predictions from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the predictions were done with 70% confidence, and there is a 60% chance of an above normal season, a 30% chance of a near normal season, and a 10% chance of a below normal season. And the expectation is for 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 are expected to become hurricanes, and 3 to 6 are expected to become major hurricanes of category 3, 4, or 5. We already had Arthur, so we're expecting 13 to 18 right now. Now the average season would spawn 12 storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. The reasons given is the absence of El Nino, and what El Nino is really is the warmer than average sea surface temperatures in the Eastern Pacific, which would generally suppress hurricane activity. Now what we expect now is La Nina on neutral conditions, which would result in increased activity. We also were given the reason as warmer than average sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, and favorable winds over West Africa, all of which would support increased hurricane activity. Now we have to remember that this outlook is not for landfall prediction. It's not a landfall prediction, but it's for overall seasonal activity. However, we must be prepared. Basically, to give you an idea as to what El Nino does, you have the rising air over the Pacific, and then you have the winds moving from west to east in the upper levels, producing a lot of wind shear across the Atlantic. And I must say that El Nino, you must remember, is very good for us. Okay? So El Nino would basically shear out the weather systems and suppress development. But when you have El Nino, it encourages vertical development and encourages systems to form. So this is the actual, what is really going on in terms of El Nino and La Nina. And we are going into La Nina, as you can see, looking at the color for May. Looking at the vulnerability of Dominica, we are located in the main development region for hurricanes, right in the middle. So this means that we are very vulnerable. And this is a spaghetti track showing the passages, the tracks of hurricane or tropical cyclones over the last 100 years. And Dominica is in the red circle right there. Now, in terms of development, the main period of development is August and September, and this is where tropical cyclones would form. So this is the period that we are very vulnerable, August and September. Some of the conditions necessary for the formation of tropical cyclones would include warm sea surface temperatures of 26.5 degrees and above, and you know that we've been experiencing a lot of hot conditions. Some of the conditions would include moist atmosphere, a pre-existing disturbance, such as a tropical wave or trough, and low wind shear, which is dependent on El Nino. And as I mentioned earlier, with no El Nino, then limited wind shear. Some of the names for the 2020 hurricane season, and that list was taken from 2014, as the list is recycled every six years. So we have Arthur, who's already gone, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, Edward, Faye, Gonzalo, Hannah, Isaias, Josephine, Kyle, Laura, Marco, Nana, Oma, Paulette, Renee, Sally, Teddy, Vicky, and Wilfred. Now, in the last list, 2014, we only reached around Hannah. So it was eight named storms in 2014. So 2014 was a below normal season. However, this year is predicted to be an above normal season. Okay. The stages of development of cyclones go from a tropical wave, then to a tropical depression with winds near 49 miles per hour. So when you have winds of 49 miles per hour or greater, up to 73 miles per hour, system is called a tropical storm. And at that point, it is given a name. And then you have winds from 74 miles per hour and greater, it becomes a hurricane. And then you have the different categories based on the Saffir-Simpson scale from categories 1 to 5. Just to give the difference between watches and warnings, a watch is issued 48 hours in advance, and a warning is issued 36 hours in advance of a system. The difference between watch and warning is that for a watch, we have possible conditions, and for a warning, we have expected conditions. We are working in coordination with the ODM. We have some communication tools. Tools would include, we need to have stable power supply, telephone, internet service, satellite service, best resolution, numerical weather prediction models, satellite radar access, graphics, outlooks and discussions, availability, and we need uninterrupted access to those services. We need a hydromet early warning system, and an emergency manager's weather information network, which can be used as backup in the absence of internet. We also would need common alert protocol to be established, and then we have mass text. The public would need radios, batteries, generators when power goes out to listen and respond to the messages. So we also have to look at the stability of the media houses, which they are the ones responsible for putting out the information. Or other support agencies would include the World Meteorological Organization, the Caribbean Meteorological Organization, the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, National Hurricane Center, Meteor France, which is the French Met Service, and the Barbados Met Office. Now, vulnerability knowledge is important, so it is important that you know your hazards. Response completes the process, because without response, then there's nothing. So we give the message, and then the public need to respond. We have to be aware that adverse weather associated with tropical storms would occur well in advance of the eye, and that no system is a point. Tropical storms or hurricane force winds extend out from the center to a distance stated in the advisory. The eye is a calm, so we have to know that. COVID-19 awareness is expected to play a very important role in preparation and response this year. We have to be ready, listen to the radio, and we have to make mention of this. Social media can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. We have to avoid rumors and avoid spreading rumors. The Dominican Met Service is the nation's official source for weather information, with the disaster management information provided by the Office of Disaster Management. We have to be ready, use common sense. After or during an event is not a time for sightseeing. Don't get caught off guard. Again, remember the eye of the storm or hurricane is a calm. It is not over until the all clear is given. Use common sense. We have a website, www.weather.gov.dm, where you can get information. We send out information via radio. We also have a Facebook page, Dominica Met. We also have an email system. We use WhatsApp. Or you can call the office at 449-1752 or 611-4490. Using other websites, we would like to warn people about using other websites. You have to be sure that you can understand and interpret the information, example, visible and infrared satellite imagery. Although timely information is critical, people have to avoid recklessness. Recklessness by putting information out in a rush that is going to create more chaos and confusion. And that would make the task of the Met Office and the ODM more difficult. We have a color-coded warning system where we have green, that would be found on our 3-day forecast page. We have green, no severe weather; yellow, be aware; amber or orange would mean be prepared; and red would mean take action. So now is the time to familiarize yourself with the website of the Met Service and the ODM. And that website again, weather.gov.dm for the Met Service and odm.gov.dm for the Office of Disaster Management. Get the required knowledge and information. Education increases awareness and drives preparation. Now, to end this presentation, I'd like to leave you this message. Preparation is key, as it only takes one, regardless of the prediction. Get information from trusted and designated authority. The next update for the 2020 season will be issued in August. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. At this time, we'll be having a closed session, and I will invite Mr. Glenroy Tousse, the chair of the Emergency Shelter Subcommittee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me recognize the Honorable Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice, Senior Minister, the Minister for Health, Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Steve Farrell, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice,